Hello and welcome to the Life in Our 20s podcast. Do you ever feel as though you're overstimulated, but the world kind of feels empty at the same time? Well, then stick around to the end of the episode because I have a thought or two about this. Alright, so today's episode is going to be a solo episode. I am trying to figure out people's schedules, and they have gotten back to me and they've told me when they're available, and I have to kind of manipulate my schedule a little bit to fit people in and be able to have them on the podcast. But don't worry, I do have guest episodes coming up, and there will be updates on that if you follow us on Instagram or on Threads and on YouTube. Although YouTube has been acting kind of funny lately, so those updates kind of don't show up on the community tabs, but I'm slowly figuring that out. So anyway, today's episode is about this kind of idea of saturation and overstimulation. And I feel like a lot of us in our 20s are kind of dealing with this now, and we're in a little bit of a strange spot because most of us don't want to acknowledge that we're kind of like addicted to our phones. And I have mentioned this in the past, and I think I'm going to do a future episode with a guest on here where we can talk about phone addiction, social media addiction, and that sort of thing, because I think it's something prevalent in our generation with people around our age, in your 20s, late 20s, early 30s even. It's even getting to the point where, adults like the boomer generations and everything are also struggling with social media and phone addiction. And they're the ones that were kind of telling us to be careful about it, But that aside, this is more focused on the media itself and sort of like consumer culture as well, because I feel as though everything is super saturated, media wise, content wise, even like consuming wise. Everything is everything is oversaturated, and we're over consuming. Like, we can't lie about it. We are over consuming, and it's becoming a big issue. But everything feels so empty at the same time. It feels like we overconsume and everything is so saturated, but at the same time it feels like we're not doing anything and there's nothing there. And I know that might sound a little strange, but let me just get a little bit more in depth in a little bit. So what I mean by everything being so saturated is like nobody, like for example, like if you go on YouTube, nobody watches YouTube for the YouTubers anymore. It used to be, I follow Jacksepticeye or PewDiePie or Markiplier, or anybody, even smaller YouTubers that you would start watching at a young age and then grew up with them. Nobody watches YouTube for the YouTubers in the same way that Instagram and I guess TikTok kind of fits here, although that's the newer app. But nobody follows the people that they want to follow. Nobody watches the things that they want to watch anymore, because there's the idea of the algorithm and all this, and it tailors things to you. So instead of watching one person and only watching their content because you like their content, the algorithm kind of goes, hey, this other person is very similar. Do you want to watch them as well? And what that leads to is this rabbit hole where you'll find 50 other creators that are doing the same thing. And part of it is that, like, content creation and all this stuff has become a little bit more accessible. So I feel as though this has created a little bit of a problem, and I don't blame it on the creators. A lot of these creators are just kind of sharing what they love, and I actually like that, especially with the smaller creators. They get a little bit more, how would I say this? They get a little bit more exposure than like in the past, for example, like 2015 YouTubers. Like they wouldn't get as much exposure as they do now because of like the algorithm, especially with like short form content is like something massive that can bring a lot of people in, right? But it leads to us over consuming, and there's not enough time to consume all that media, so you end up like subscribing to like 50 different people, and that you're not going to watch all their stuff. The only way that you're going to watch their stuff is if they kind of show up in your timeline again, right? And it just feels saturated. And a lot of this stuff, and I'm not hating on the creators. There's a lot of people on there that make really good stuff. But a lot of this stuff just feels like gimmicky, or like very simplistic. It's kind of like they're treating this as a job, and they're kind of just trying to get money out of it. And everybody's doing it, especially with all the AI stuff. There's like, how hard is it to talk into your phone and create a video? You don't have to show your face. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing with the podcast, right? I don't really show my face. And I started with a cheap little USB mic that I mainly got so that I can talk with my friends on Discord during the quarantine stuff, and like, play video games and be able to chat with them, like, without having them hate my microphone quality, like on my headset or something, So you can start with like on your phone and stuff, but like these people just use AI voices to do everything, and it kind of feels like kind of dull and empty. Like there's no passion behind it, and then we just consume this stuff like every single day, and everything feels so saturated. There's so much to choose from that you kind of end up not wanting to watch anything anymore, or you end up in this weird situation where it's like you try to consume everything because it's there and it's like tailored to you, and you're like, well, I find all of this interesting, but I can't find time to watch it all. And the same thing goes with like consumer culture outside of media. There's so much stuff that we can now order online without having to go outside. And we just kind of go, oh, these reviews look cool. Like, 4 stars, 5 stars. I'm just going to order it. And we end up like over consuming on these things that we don't really need. Like, we'll buy like 17 different chargers or like battery packs and like very niche little knickknacks that you're only going to use once. And it just feels so oversaturated, and like everything there's like, you're overstimulated like every day, all day, by everything. Like everybody's just trying to figure out how to get you to watch more, how to get you to buy more. And it's honestly kind of like disgusting that this is taking place. And like, we're all falling victim to it. I'm falling victim to it. I'll sit down and scroll for hours. I'll like, end up buying stuff that I don't really need. And then at the end of the week, I'm like, where did all my money go? And like, I don't have it that bad. I think like, maybe I'm just like, trying to like make it seem like it's not that bad. And I'm like trying to, like, I'm trying to cope, but it doesn't seem that bad to me. Like the level that I'm doing it at. But there are some people that they just cannot control it, and they just go crazy with this stuff. And I guess what I'm trying to say with all this, like, consumption stuff is there, like everything feels like a cash grab. Everything feels uninspired. And in the past, it didn't really feel that way. Everything was a little bit more authentic, and I miss that authentic feeling. Like, you would go on YouTube and you'd watch these videos, and it was just people being their authentic selves. Like, they're just being goofy and stuff. Like, making videos and skits, or just sharing their life. Like, just simple things. It doesn't even have to be like, like nowadays everybody's like, oh, I want to do YouTube, but my life seems so uninteresting to do it. And in the past, it was like, we would watch videos of people going to Walmart and picking up their groceries for like, to cook. And they just kind of like talk to the camera for a little bit. And that was the vlog. And we ate that stuff up. Like, and now it's like, oh, this is too boring. There's nothing exciting there. It's because we've been so overstimulated that, like, we're trying to see the next big thing. Like, every video that we watch has to be bigger and better than the last one. And, I hate what has happened to media, because there's no authenticity anymore. And everybody kind of tries to play the system and follow the patterns that have been there in the past. And nobody tries to be themselves anymore. Everybody puts on this kind of front, this facade. They try to be all upbeat. They try to like pretend to be somebody that they're not. Like, and this was like kind of prevalent, like in, let's see, like 2017 to 2019, before the pandemic. It was still prevalent then. But I feel like it's branched out a lot more now, where everybody's just copying each other and nobody is being original anymore. And it's kind of hard to determine like what is original, because it is okay to be inspired and stuff, but like at some point it's just straight up copying, and everybody copies the format because it's what works. And like, I get it. It works, and you're trying to make it work for yourself. But, like, you can be yourself and have a smaller audience, and that's okay. Like, but everybody wants the big numbers. So they create this, like, formulaic crap, garbage stuff that we end up over consuming. And then, like, it numbs us, and then we just, like, get so used to it that that's the only thing that we watch. And I hate it. Like, it feels like there's so much of that, and it's so saturated. Like, everything, like the whole media pool out there has been saturated with a bunch of this garbage. And especially with the short form content, like that stuff has ruined us, like beyond what people think it has done to us. Like, we think that it's like affected our attention span and like this and that. But we're like, oh, like, it's not that bad. No, it has really messed us up, like, very badly. And I'm talking to, like, my little brother, and he just started, like, middle school, and he talks about how these kids act and stuff, and it, like, scares me. Like, you'll be having conversations, and then you'll be having conversations, and then you just kind of go, hey, yeah, so, like, what do you think about, like, everything that I said? And they're like, oh, what? Look, dude, I tuned out, like, 15 minutes ago. I've been on my phone this whole time. And like, we did have that in the past, but I feel like we paid a little bit more attention, and everybody was like, less overstimulated. And like now, whenever we feel understimulated, we have to like do something else to hit that level of stimulation. So it's like you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh God, this is boring. I have to watch a video or something while I'm listening to them. And the issue with that is that like, you can multitask, but a lot of the time you don't grasp everything that's being said. And I kind of remember in the past, I used to try to do that and like multitask. I would put on like a video, like on YouTube or something on my phone on the side, and then I'd be able to do my homework. Like, it was kind of like listening to a podcast in the background, but I wouldn't fully grasp everything being said in the video. And now that I try to do this, like with other stuff, like let's say I'm working on like an email or something, I'm trying to send out an email, I'll have something playing in the background, and then like my brain kind of goes, this email is boring. I'm going to watch that instead. And I start watching something else. Like, I start watching the TV instead. And then I realize, oh, I never wrote that email. Like, this issue of like oversaturation is so bad. And it's affecting us in ways that we never really thought that it would affect us. And it's messing us up. Like, a lot of people that are like around my age don't know how to, like, act in public anymore. They don't want to go outside anymore. They don't want to go out with friends because, like, they don't know how to socialize anymore. And I think COVID was a big issue, like, a big contributor of this. But it has gotten to the point where I kind of don't see people ever getting out of this giant rut that we've put ourselves in, especially with like all this AI stuff, and like it's just getting so bad. And like, it makes overconsumption even worse because it's even easier to pump out stupid content, and it's making it even easier to consume it, and it's tailoring it even more to you. So like, you're not going to get like, you're not going to get things promoted to you that are like, maybe a little bit outside of the niches that you're used to, but like, might kind of catch your eye a little bit. So like, you're not going to have that um like open mindset that we may have had in the past. Like, you might be open to like watching something, and like now everything's so tailored that's like, if it's not this, I don't want to watch it. And there's also like I mentioned like the overconsumption of like products. Like, Amazon is just everything now, and like you don't even go to the store to like buy things anymore. Like, all these stores are closing. I just recently went to the store with my family. We were like going just to kind of hang out, and we like to see the Halloween decorations there. Shout out to Big Lots. We miss you. The two that were in my area closed. So, like, the closest one that we have is a couple miles away, like, and it's in a different city. And I don't know how much longer that's going to be there. I haven't checked up on it. So it might also be closed already. Who knows? Like, we have that. The 99-cent store is closed. And, like, all the local stuff in my area is closing too. We used to have a Target that was really close. That closed. And it's like, all these stores are closing because everything's online now. And I'm starting to think like, what the heck are we going to do for fun, like in the future? Like, back in the day it was like, let's go to the store and let's walk around, let's just window shop, like, and we would honestly just window shop. If we ever bought anything, when we're like, oh, let's go window shopping, it's either something that we forgot that we needed, or it's just like a snack or a drink or something, But nowadays, we say, hey, let's go walk around a store, let's go window shopping, and our brains just kind of go, oh, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, even though we don't need it because we think it's cool. And I think that's something that has to do with like all this overstimulation and stuff. Like, buying something new kind of stimulates us, and like, in a way where we're like, oh dude, that's so cool, I bought something new with, like, and it seems so useful and I'm gonna use it a bunch, and then we never end up using it. And I think that's especially dangerous when you can just tap a button, like, right click on your screen, and everything gets shipped to you. That is dangerous. Like, you just kind of scroll through Amazon, you're like, oh, this seems cool, that seems cool. And I feel like that hasn't gone that bad yet, but it will in the future, because a lot of these companies are really, really trying to get you to buy things. And they have these whole studies and these like large groups that are just trying to get you to buy stuff. And it's so bad, especially like with the economy like failing and stuff. So it's just sad, like, to see that everybody's kind of getting taken advantage of. And the reason why that's happening is because like the government is afraid of losing these companies, especially like Amazon. They can just go like, well, screw you, we're gonna go move and we're gonna go to like, a different country that'll allow us to do all this. And they're a little bit more relaxed on it because like there's all this lobbying and stuff too, but that's way out of my wheelhouse, like, so I'm just gonna stick to like the like talking about like how this has affected us like very negatively. And we're like starting to see all the effects that people were warning us about, like, 5-10 years ago. And it's really scary. And again, I'm gonna do a episode about like phone addiction and stuff, because I have a couple of friends that, although they say they're not addicted to their phone, I can tell they're addicted to their phone. And I can say that and judge them a little bit because I myself am addicted to my phone. Like it's just like, it's just so easy to consume content, and it's scary how much time you lose watching that stuff. Like, so I can judge a little bit because I myself lose hours on social media and on like YouTube and stuff. You could go into like my battery usage thing and it tells you how many hours I've spent on each thing. And like on my days off from work, it's like, oh, you spent 8 hours on YouTube. And I'm like, God damn, dude, 8 hours on YouTube on just my phone. And so, and that's just on my phone. If you look around me, I have my phone, I have my tablet that I used to use for school, I have my desktop and my TV. And thank goodness my laptop is broken, because if not, I'd probably be using that as well. But for the most part, I only consume content on my tablet, phone, TV. Don't really use my desktop. That's more so for the podcast and writing, like, like creating things like scripts, writing down ideas for future episodes, and like, just playing video games every once, like, once in a blue moon or whatever. Like, I rarely play video games anymore. But the phone, TV, tablet combo, that is scary, because like, my phone will die, I jump over to the tablet. Tablet dies, jump back over to the phone. Phone is there. If they're both dead at some point, I just go on my TV. And that is really scary because, like, at least in the past, it was like, oh, turn on the TV, whatever's on, that's what you're watching. And you're kind of forced to watch it. And, like, you could pick and choose and, like, use TV guides and all this and that to see what's on, but most of the time, at least for me growing up, I would just turn on the TV and then I'd go, okay, there's like a couple channels that I usually go to. I'll go to them. If there's nothing cool, I'll start scrolling through like all the channels and see if there's something interesting. And sometimes you'd find something that you don't think, like, you wouldn't think that you'd watch, and you end up watching it and you enjoy it. And you're just like, oh yeah, that's cool. And this is actually like long form, good content that, like, good writers are put behind, that people are passionate about writing and stuff. But nowadays, with all these smart TVs and stuff, and like, I rarely see anybody with cable packages. And the people that do have cable packages, it's mostly for like sports and all that. And even that is moving into streaming. But this isn't even about like the streaming stuff. Every time I open my TV, I just go straight to YouTube. It's like I have all these different apps for, like, watching media. Like, I have Hulu, I have Disney Plus, I have some of the free ones like Tubi. What else? Oh I'm blanking, Pluto. We have a Paramount Plus account. Like, we have all these ways to watch media, right? Like watch movies and stuff. And we just kind of default to YouTube. So we just consume more and more of that garbage. And I'm not saying like everything on there is garbage. There's some really good stuff on there that people are really passionate about. I had like this brief little time when I was just obsessed with short fan films, like horror fan films or like fan films set in a universe of like, a certain movie. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but there's like this movie that's set in the Limitless universe. If anybody has seen Limitless, it's a really good movie with Bradley Cooper. And it's about like this drug that you take that makes you like super intelligent and stuff. And it was kind of like this kind of like a retelling of the story, but as if like if that drug got out to the rest of the world, like, how would people use it and how would it affect like, the world. And I started watching like a bunch of those, and that's like actually pretty good content. Like, like of course the budgets are like low and stuff, but like they're really passionate about this. And that's good stuff to watch. It has good storytelling and all this and that. Like, it's better than watching these really crappy, stupid videos where they kind of just throw facts at you and like Subway Surfers is playing on the bottom half of the screen. That stuff is just wow. That just is so bad. And I'm not saying like, I'm not hating on the people that do that. Like, they're trying to get out there and like do their own thing, but it has become so saturated that is like the main thing that is on there. And it's kind of like the same thing with like everybody was like not too long ago talking about um like all these teenage dudes, young adult dudes that get like addicted to like OnlyFans and stuff. It's because it's like so saturated that like, they just get curious and they start watching that stuff, and then they like, end up in this stupid hole. And like, it sucks that people like, end up like that, and people are just losing their self-control. And it's because everything is like so saturated, and it like berates you 24/7, so at some point you have to give in. And I have given in to like the whole social media addiction thing. I have in the past, took a break from it, felt better, and now it's happening again, so I might have to like take a break from like my personal accounts and stuff and figure out something else to do with my time, because everything is like just bombarding me 24/7. I have access to the world 24/7 in my pocket. And like the more that you think about it, the scarier it is. Like, imagine, and this is just like a funny thing, right? Like, imagine you took like a bunch of drugs, right? Like you smoked a shit ton of weed, or like, you're like on like fucking psychedelics or something, and you start thinking about like how you have access to the world, and I mean the literal world. Videos from everywhere in the world, almost everywhere in the world, right? In your hand, you can communicate with anybody in the world in your hand, right? It's in your pocket. You pull it out and it just gives you access to everything. That is scary. And like the more that you think about it, the scarier it gets, because like, what do we do with all this knowledge? And I feel like we've been misusing this. Like, there's ways to make this stuff like actually work. And like, YouTube is just stupid because they're following like the whole TikTok thing, because like I guess it works, I guess, but then now it doesn't work. And like, I feel like YouTube is stupid for like, following people, like following like TikTok and stuff, because in the past they put they kind of like put a ban, or like, they wouldn't monetize videos that were like under 10 minutes or something, because they're like, nah, long form content only, because that's like the best content. And now it's like the opposite. They like super promote their super short content, like the 30-second, minute long videos. And I'm like, dude. And I'll give it to some of the creators out there. Like, some people can like really grasp, like, your attention. They can really grab your attention, like tell really cool, interesting facts and stories in like less than a minute. And that's like really cool. But I feel like if they like tried a little bit to do longer content, they would just be great. Like, I guess I'm just getting nitpicky at this point, but everything is just so saturated, and everything feels empty because of it. Like, it's like it's all there, but we watch so much of the same thing over and over and over again that I feel like a lot of people are starting to realize that it's getting a little bit boring, and I'm hoping that more people realize that, because then we'll be drifting away from that, and like, they'll start doing other things, like going out and getting hobbies, or like, trying to change the landscape of themselves, of like the internet and like the way that we do things. And yeah, I mean, it's just insane to me how far we've gotten into this hole. And I don't know if like we've realized soon enough to dig ourselves out, or if it's just too late now. So I guess we just have to wait and see, like, what the world has, like, in store for us. So yeah, I mean, if there's something that, like, let me just toss in, like, a little bit of my critiques, a little bit of my opinions in here, what should probably be done. I feel like the world as a whole should try to be a little bit more authentic. Um, Not try to follow the format and like what works and stuff. Like, yeah, something might work already, but like, you don't have to copy it exactly. Try to make your thing work by taking aspects of what already works and add it into, like, your own personal ideas and stuff. And then I also feel like social media should go back to what it used to be. Like, like think like the era of like MySpace and like early Instagram, even like early Snapchat and stuff. Although, like, who even uses Snapchat anymore, to be honest? Even like Twitter, right? Like early Twitter. It was just like a place to share your day to day life, like, post. It's like, oh, like, and I, I feel like now it's just like the highlights of your life and stuff. But like in the past, it was like, oh, walking to school, like, have a test today, wish me luck, or like, doing my shopping, found this really cool shirt. Like, everybody was authentic and kind of goofy and weird, and like, like nobody really knew how to use social media, but like that's how we used it. Like everybody just kind of posted whatever, um, stupid dares or challenges that they would do, like, um, like, they'd post their hobbies and stuff, and now everybody is like, oh, I need followers, I need views. And I get it, like, it's a way to make money for some people, but then more and more people jump on the bandwagon and they try to do the same thing, and people end up consuming the same thing over and over again, and it just kind of, like, it's just presented by different people, and it starts to get old. But our brain is so used to watching that stuff that it's like the only thing that we'll watch now. And it's just so bad. Like, there's one person out there that still uses social media the correct way. And like, you guys should check out his page. If you follow like John Cena on Instagram, he knows exactly how to use it. He just posts whatever the heck he wants. And like in his bio, he says he posts pictures and like things that he finds cool. And he says like, don't DM me asking about what it means. So you just have to take it at face value and like, just go with it. And he posts like the weirdest, dumbest things, the goofiest things, and it's just so funny because it reminds me of like early meme culture and like, the early internet. Or not the early internet, but like early social media. Early internet was kind of crazy. Um I wasn't around for that stuff, but like all those like random chat forums and like, web design wasn't really a thing. That was insane. But anyway, like if there's something that I miss and I didn't really get to use it, and I feel like more social media should be like this because it would bring forth like a sense of community, and everybody would be a little bit more authentic and not really present the highlights only. So, and like, we compare ourselves to those highlights, and then we only want to see success and like the good things. Like nobody wants to see the kind of boring things, and I kind of miss those days because like, yeah, like there were interesting parts of people's lives that they'd put on like, social media, YouTube, and all this and that, but there were also boring parts that were kind of like super authentic, and like, it was very it was kind of like a more intimate way of sharing with the world, and like it felt like it made everything a little bit more accessible. And like, the world was just a better place back then, and like now everybody compares themselves to like these things, or they compare other content and media and stuff to this. And like the thing that I miss that I never really got to try was that app that came out during like the quarantine, or like a little bit before. I can't even remember actually, but it was called like Be Real. And so like from what I understand, it's like you'd sign up and then like you'd add your friends and stuff, and then like at some random point in the day, it would just say like, it'd give you a notification. It's like post to Be Real, and then whatever the hell you're doing at that time, you just post it. So like if you're cooking, you post that. If you're on a fishing trip, you post that. If you're doing your homework, you post that. If you're walking your dog, you post that. If you're going to drop the kids off at school, or like, you're picking them up, you post that. And it was kind of cool, I guess, cuz like it's not like sharing the highlights, it's sharing your day-to-day life stuff. And like I feel like the reason why it fell off is because like, it really succeeded during the quarantine, but then once quarantine ended, social media just kind of went back to what it was. And like, even Instagram was kind of like Be Real, where everybody was like kind of open and being authentic because everybody was in the same situation and nobody knew how to deal with like the quarantine. So we were all kind of like on even ground, like the playing field was evened out. But then after that, everybody went back to like, posting their highlight reel, and I feel like Be Real kind of fell off. And I kind of wish I could have tried it because it I don't know, it just helps you connect with people on like it helps you connect with people like on a little bit of a deeper level, because you kind of see the good and the bad, the interesting and the boring, and you learn more about people. And like, it doesn't overstimulate you like crazy. You realize that everybody has like ups and downs in their life, and like, not everything has to be perfect. And I feel like everything now is striving to try to be that perfect thing, and it's so formulaic that it just becomes kind of like predictable in a way. And I've been seeing a lot of these videos online where it's like people are getting sick of their phone, they're getting sick of social media, and they're starting to stray away from it. And I'm kind of glad that that's happening, because like I know a lot of people say this like, jokingly, and like, it's kind of like a meme at this point, but people need to go out and like touch grass, like for reals. And going back to like what I said with like consuming like products and stuff, people need to go out and like go to different restaurants and stores and stuff and just see what there is, because there's all these interesting places that are like kind of going out of business, and it's because everybody's trying to switch over to online and everybody's trying to become Amazon. So I mean, Amazon already kind of ruined a lot of, like, smaller shops, and like, the kind of slightly larger shops, like, like not Walmart size, but like, kind of in between like mom and pop shops and like Walmart. Those like medium sized shops. They're all going to close soon too, cuz everybody's trying to move to online shopping, and pretty soon it's everything's going to be like, warehouses everywhere, and then like, residential areas. And yeah, there's still going to be a couple like, things where you can go and shop and stuff, but like it's always going to be an uphill battle, I feel like, unless something happens, like we decide to go and support those like smaller businesses and stuff. Cuz I have been trying to go out and like see all these like smaller places and stuff. And one of the biggest things that like I've done for that is like just kind of get in my car and look up something on Google, or just even just drive anywhere, like, and then just see what's out there. And so far I found like some pretty cool, like, lesser known diners and like burger places. I've gone to a couple of Asian markets, like, specialize in like different Asian foods, like, from like Vietnam, Japan, Korea, um even like Indian food. There's like Malaysia, like, Chinese stuff, like everything, like, everything Asian pretty much. And it's honestly like really cool, cuz like most of them offer stuff like really, like, at like affordable prices. Some stuff is expensive cuz like, they have to import it, but most of the stuff is like reasonable, and they offer stuff that you might not find, like, at regular stores. And I feel like we might end up losing that sort of stuff, those like little niche places, because everything is online and you can order everything. Even your lunch can be brought to your doorstep. And I feel like that is making us like A, lazy, and B, way too comfortable. Like way too comfortable. And we have to get outside of our comfort zone a little bit, and like we need to we need to get out more. Be uncomfortable outside, get out of our comfort zone, and kind of see these places that the world has to offer. Because like if not, all these places are going to close, and then like the world becomes a more boring place. And I think I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes where I had my friend Kay on here, where like my family used to go to that Target that I mentioned, that was like not too far away from our home. It was like really close. My mom was learning how to drive still, and like, she was getting comfortable with like driving, like, longer distances. So sometimes the whole family would get in the car and she'd like, drive us there, because like, it wasn't too far, and she was comfortable with driving, like, it was less than 5 minutes away. And then we just kind of roam around, and then like, go back home. It was that simple, And a lot of these places, like, and I know this is different because like Target's a little bit larger than these smaller places, but that Target closed, and like there's nothing really kind of there anymore. There's like this like open package store there, but like it's very hit or miss, and it's like not very well kept, and like, meh. But a lot of these places, like, if that Target went out of business because everything was going online, these smaller places are definitely going to go out of business at some point. And that is scary for me to think of and like keep in the back of my head, because they're places that I enjoy going to, and more people need to know about it. And like, they're always going to have people coming in, because like, they're very niche, and they have like basically like a fan base essentially. where people go like, "Oh, I only get this product from this store because it's the only store that carries it, or it's the store that has it for the cheapest, or like, I don't really like to order online or go to those big stores because they have massive lines. I kind of like going to these smaller shops, and it's kind of like, it's like its own little experience. And um yeah, I mean, it's just cuz we've gotten so used to having everything like, so easily accessible online that we overconsume online and don't consume enough outside in the real world. So we don't support these places as much as we should, and it's just sad. Like, it's like the world is just so much more depressing than what it used to be. I was actually contemplating about doing like a whole episode on like where the color went in the world. And like, I was researching about all this and stuff, and um it like I don't know. Y'all can let me know if I should do like an episode on that, but it was essentially like the idea of like um colors. Like in cars used to have so many cool colors. They're gone. All of these like different restaurants and like stores and stuff had colors. They're gone. They all look like super like professional grayscale, like, barely any color in there. And then I also wanted to like maybe talk about like how as you get older your eyes age as well, and like we don't see color the same way that we used to as kids. Like everything was super vibrant, like, our eyes were fresh. And now you go outside and everything is kind of like dull a little bit. It's because your eyes are getting older. Like, you eventually, when you get like, super, super old, you're going to see that a lot of colors are kind of super dim and like dull, not as vibrant. It's just because your eyes are like, essentially dying slowly. Like your whole body is slowly decaying when you think about it. But I don't know, like y'all can let me know if you want me to do like a whole episode on like where color went in the world. But that's like another big thing that like, is kind of lost. And it's because everybody follows the formula, follows what works. Nobody wants to take risks anymore. And that's what's wrong with the world. Like, nobody wants to kind of think outside the box, go outside of like the norm, and they just want to play it safe. And then like, it kind of messes with it. It messes with everything. It messed with social media. It made it super like bland and boring when you think about it, because like we only watch the same thing over and over again presented by different people. And it like I don't even know how to even like explain all this. Like, I'm just some dude that notices these things and like just kind of wants to talk about it. Like, I haven't really researched this too much, and I feel like I should, because I'd be able to better explain this. But I mean, is nobody else noticing these things? I feel like there's a lot more people out there that have probably noticed these things, and they just don't really talk about it. Probably because they don't want to feed into like the social media machine any more than they already have, or any more than they have to, but yeah, I mean, everything's just oversaturated, and it's made everything really, really bland. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. For like one last example, I've still been trying to like, get a job anywhere else aside from Amazon. Like the Amazon pay is okay. The hours are kind of meh. I could take on more shifts, but I want something that like, fulfills me a little bit more. And so far, everything around here is warehouses, and like everything else is like they offer barely any hours, little to no hours at all, because A, they're already like at maximum staff, or like, B, they're understaffed, but they can't afford to have more people because, I mean, they're losing people to Amazon. The only thing that I've kind of been able to maybe find is like working at like different restaurants and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm cut out for that. Some people are probably gonna judge me and be like, "Oh yeah, that's like super easy, dude. They teach you like all this." I don't know if I'm cut out for that. Uh, yeah, whatever. But like everything in my area is just warehouses, to be honest, and like everywhere else is just kind of um like a shit place to work at. And I'm trying to find like not the perfect place because that doesn't exist, but like a good place that like I'm comfortable working at and I feel fulfilled at, because I can't see myself working for fucking 50 years of my life, like and then retiring or whatever. And I say like I say 50, but it's probably gonna be like 60 or 70 with like the whole increasing the retirement age or whatever. But yeah, everything's just oversaturated. Everything is bland, even though people haven't realized that yet. And like, if they took time to look around them, they'd realize how bad things have gotten. So, yeah, I mean, that's the basic recap of like everything that I've said. And I guess now I'll just give you guys a little bit of an update on the podcast again. I'm trying new format for like the episodes, and that's going to roll out shortly. I was going to update the logo for the podcast. I have an idea in mind. I haven't really been able to get around to it because I need a couple of my friends to participate in making the logo, because we're going to take a picture of all of us as a group and then like do some edits and stuff and hide faces because privacy issues and all that. But one of my friends that is not here right now, like obviously can't take a picture with us, so I gotta wait till he gets back the end of the month. So the logo thing was supposed to roll out with the whole season 2 of the podcast, but that didn't work out. But don't worry, it will come eventually. I updated on the social medias for this podcast, so if you follow us on Threads and on Instagram, then you would know that we're making those changes, and we'll update you when those changes finally go through and happen. But I just need to wait till like we're all together as a group, because I want to make it like a group thing. What else? There has been a wildfire in my area, which is like it's gonna sound kind of like messed up, but like I kind of went the whole summer going, hey, there hasn't been a wildfire, like it's not California without a wildfire, and then like boom, it happens. So that has been a little bit stressful because I have like issues with my lungs, like asthma and stuff. So all the ash and smoke has really messed me up, and then going to work and stuff. But I've mostly stayed inside recently, learned like from prior experience with so many wildfires that we've had in California that I really shouldn't be outside. Like don't really know why I would be outside when that stuff is happening, but I guess like younger me was fucking stupid. But yeah, so there's that. So that's probably affecting not all everybody's schedules, but a couple people's schedules. Um, so they can't really be on right now. That friend that is in Japan, when he gets back, we'll do the whole logo thing, and if he's open to it, we'll do a episode on his experience in Japan. And I mean, you guys might not even hear this part because I might cut it out. I have to ask him for permission first to actually even mention this, because I don't want to give false promises. What else is there? I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. Um, we're still working on content for the YouTube channel of the podcast, exclusive content. I was waiting a little bit, because it's just way too hot outside. It seems to be cooling down slightly, but now with the wildfire, I can't really be outside too much. So I'm trying to see if I have a couple of ideas that I've written down that I can do indoors, just so that I don't fuck up my lungs more than they already messed up. So that I can upload something onto the YouTube channel finally. Let's see. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. A lot of this is going to get edited out because it's like an hour long. But anyway, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure to rate and follow us. Our episodes come out, whenever the heck I get them done, to be honest. But for sure, 2 episodes a month, possibly 3. In a previous episode, I explained exactly how the releases work and how many guest episodes and solo episodes I'll have. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Threads at Life in Our 20s, spelt out Life in Our 20s, for updates and just little bits and pieces of my personal life that I share. Make sure to check out the YouTube for exclusive content that is yet to be made but will be made eventually once the world stops throwing me curveballs. And make sure to tell people about the podcast. We're on all major platforms, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, because Google Podcast have been thrown into the abyss. And we might move and branch over into other podcast sites or things like that. So just keep an eye out for that, I guess. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to check out the poll under this episode and leave a comment about what I've said. And just let me know what you think about the episode. It would help if I got a little bit of interaction so I could see where to take this. And aside from that, just stay safe out there and don't do anything fucking stupid. Alright? I'll see you guys in the next one.